Prayer and perseverance go together. If you're going to become a person of prayer, you will be a person of perseverance. Jesus said, give us this day our daily bread. God has said He will give you everything you need for life and godliness. He said you don't have to worry about what you'll eat or what you'll wear or where you'll live, that God knows you need those things, and if you'll seek first His kingdom, He'll give you all of those things. But we flip it around and say, God, I'll seek your kingdom first when I get all of those things accumulated. Trust God on a daily basis. To say, Lord, you met every need I have today, and I believe you'll meet my needs tomorrow. So I'm going to leave that with you now while I lay down to rest tonight. You know, in the Bible, the day begins with sundown. And we go to sleep while God begins the day. And the sun rises and you awake to join God in the day that He's already been diligently working at for several hours. So when you lay your head down tonight, Lord, I trust you for all the provisions I'll need tomorrow. The time I'll need, the wisdom I need, the resources I'll need.
When we talk about a life of prayer, we're not talking about once in a while. We're talking about that every day you sense the need, the desire, and the joy, and the awesome power that comes through praying, talking to the Father. That is, it ought to be a habit, something that is recurring in your life. Not just when you get in trouble, when you get in need, but because you love God, because you're grateful for who He is and what He's doing in your life.
Pray about everything that comes up. Just pray. Come on, pray. Pray about everything. You don't have to be on your face or on your knees or in a closet or in the dark or with your eyes shut. It's good to have those set apart times with God. I have that every morning. But pray your way through the day. And don't let the devil lie to you and tell you that God doesn't hear your prayers. You say, yeah, but the things that I've done wrong, why is God going to listen to me? Because you don't go in your name, you go in the name of Jesus.
In the morning, when you get up amidst your prayer, or when you're meditating, before you even get out of the bed, you should say, Lord, I just want you to fill me with your Spirit today. You can't live a godly life unless you have a good prayer life, because the prayer life keeps you connected to Almighty God, sensitive to His will and His purpose and His plan for your life. You don't pray, you won't live a godly life.
How are we building our life? I spent so many years going to bed at night regretting what I spent my day doing. And I don't want to do that anymore, and I don't want you to do it. I want to go to bed at night and be proud of what I got done that day. You know, waste of any kind is sad, and certainly the waste of an entire life is the saddest of all. How many of you know somebody that has just wasted their whole life? I will not live like that. I am not going to get to the end of my life and have nothing left but regrets. And the only way that you can not have regret tomorrow is to do what's right today. Today, we need to start making right choices. If God is dealing with you about anything in your life and you know that you need to be obedient to Him and you're putting it off for another day, I think tomorrow is maybe the most dangerous word that we have in our English language. I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do that tomorrow. Well, what if Jesus comes today? I'm yelling to somebody, get up! It's time to get up and start doing something with what God has given you. Every day that you spend feeling sorry for yourself, it's a totally wasted day. It's completely unproductive. It does not help your future in any way, shape, or form. It just keeps you stuck in the same spot. We have to get over thinking that everything should be easy for us. I'll tell you a phrase I would like to see you get out of your collection of phrases that you use. Let's get rid of this statement. It's just too hard. But it's just too hard. You know what? Nothing that God leads us to do is too hard. See, it's foolish to think that we cannot do what God tells us to do and still have things work out right. How many things do you believe that God has put on your heart that you should do or not do, but you still have not obeyed Him? Are you living your life on purpose each day, working toward the purpose you feel that God has for your life. And your purpose can change at different seasons in your life. Give yourself to what you're supposed to do in this season of your life. Bloom where you're planted, and don't get so addicted to your plan that when God wants to change it, you won't let go of it and go do something else. And don't minimize whatever it is that God wants you to do right now. Don't minimize that.
Knowing that he's in charge, it doesn't make any difference what happens, how it happens, through whom it happens, for whatever reason. I know that God is in control, and I can trust him for whatever he allows in life. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he'll direct your path. He listens to you, you listen to him. You obey him, he guides you. That's an awesome sense of...
Hey,
All right.
all right, all right. We are gonna jump into it. Let me grab this audio.
All right.
All right. I got two screens open. Let me find out where you. There you are.
Mhm.
All right. It is showtime. Showtime.
Yeah.
So, Sister Renee, it's been some energy for me to get you onto this platform, and I'm so excited. The culmination of this interview is getting ready to pop off. As is my tradition, I got a couple prepared remarks about you for my audience that are tapping in by way of Instagram, Facebook Live, YouTube. But before I actually introduce you to them, I want to actually just tell you a little bit about the audience. First of all, so as you know, I'm an educator,
Mhm.
and part of what I did my first half of my career was I really pushed heavily the merits of going to college. You know, that was my everyday, all day, you know, whether it's community school, whatever. And it wasn't until I was this close to finishing up my work to be a principal that I made a mental shift. My best friend's in Houston, Texas. And he has been an entrepreneur since day one. And he had a meeting of the minds. He basically said, you know, I don't mean no harm, brother, but you know, some of those soft skills that people need to be successful in the world, you're not gonna get with a college degree. You got to get from connecting with a mentor and sitting at their feet and learning from them. You know, and in my opinion, you know, from I know about you, you know, so many of your students would just benefit from doing what's innate, what comes easy to them but hard to others,
Right.
in a mental shift.
Mhm.
And it took me a while to kind of figure it out, but you know, I'm on a mission to push this entrepreneurial agenda because many of us that, you know, got these good jobs are figuring out that one stream of income don't get it. So I say that to say that I have a very young audience. Most of my audience members are on the front end of this entrepreneur journey, and they're looking for wisdom. They're looking for folks that have been there, done that, and can maybe share a little pain, so they don't have to experience that pain. So that's our audience. You know, they're young people. They're looking at this entrepreneur thing and they're saying, hey, you know, some people are doing college, some people are going to the military, some people are doing vocational training. But what if I don't fit that mold? But what if I can find a mentor and I can learn from the ground up?
Mhm.
So welcome. So that's our folks. That's our tribe. All
Gotcha.
right. having said that, tribe, let me introduce you to who we working with today. All right. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, we have got an incredible episode for today because we have a powerhouse hailing from the vibrant city of Greensboro, North Carolina, and now making wave in Winston-Salem. This woman is epitomizes the word resilient, wisdom, and this entrepreneurial vibe that we're talking about right now. She's not just a wife of 37 years. Now, I want y'all to hang on to that. Some of y'all haven't even been around that long. But she has a wonderful husband named Randy. She's a mom, a grandmom, and a true trailblazer in every sense of the word. She is the CEO of a company called Gramps for Growth. She's on a mission to pass down generational wealth and wisdom. But that's not it. There's more. She's an internet marketer, a prolific author, a savvy real estate investor, and a proficiency coach who is helping countless people unlock that potential. And let's not forget, she is a survivor. I want to make sure I'm saying the disorder correctly. Is it
Myositis.
We're gonna start with that because that our audience needs to know about that.
Yes.
Which means that she deals with adversity, y'all.
Yeah.
She's an overcomer. But her motto, y'all gotta love this. This is a tweetable motto. She's about leaving inheritance and not a bill. She's here to drop some knowledge, y'all. A bomb on, estate planning, insights on wealth building, and I hope she lets a fire on all of us. So without further ado, the one, the only, the Miss Renee Summers. Welcome to Level Up.
Welcome. Thank you so much for this invitation. I appreciate it so much.
So listen, even though I have prepared words, our interview, we kind of just go with the flow. It's really whatever's on my spirit. And so the first thing in your bio that I want to acknowledge is kudos 37 years. Yeah, you got me and my wife by 10 years. Sometimes I don't know when we get to 37. But
yes.
In the true sense, she absolutely she challenges me, she makes me better, she upgrades me. So what for you and Randy, what's the secret sauce for y'all keeping that honey on the moon?
You know what? It's always going to be the first love. My first love is Jesus Christ. So that's always going to be the center of it all. You think about that cross, our intersection is Jesus. Amen. So that's what has brought us through, many different years, challenges, ups and downs. The one unique thing when I never thought about it that much. I've been in the same church for 31 years. And when I first met my pastor, one of the unique things he said, he observed about my husband and I that he usually doesn't run into very seldom, is both of us still had our parents together. He said, you know what I'm saying? And he said he used to tell my kids, they would say, well, we're going to our grandparents' house. And he said, is your mom's or dad's? They said both of them, And my parents, before they died, they had been married 51 years. And believe it or not, my husband's dad just died May 9th of this year. Mm-hmm. His mom and dad had been married 69 years.
Okay.
So I think a little bit,
there.
Yeah, we were unique in the fact that we actually seen it too. We seen it live out, that stick to itness. And I think that has, with my mother loved Christ before she left this world, definitely. But I think I know Jesus is a sinner, but I think also it's our role models was our parents.
Mm-hmm. Listen, from our audience that are just tapping in, there's a lot of meat that was just left on that bone, and I'm gonna pare some of it back for y'all. All right, because some of us, we're not ready for the meat yet. We still on the milk. I asked Sister Renee how she does it. And it wasn't no real, sophisticated, we read these books, we have this date night. She talked about her Savior Jesus Christ being the center. And I would submit to you, whether we're talking about your entrepreneurial walk or, being true to that person who says that you're the one and they're the one, it all starts with our Lord and Savior. And Renee, you probably have heard this. I was in a marriage retreat and I heard the speaker talk about, sometimes, you and your spouse, you evolve, you change, you're expanding your interests. But as long as y'all moving closer to God, you're moving closer to each other.
Correct.
And that is a huge thing.
Yes.
And the other thing I want to share, Renee, you talked about stick-to-itiveness.
Yes.
That's not just a marriage application, but that's paramount in business. Can you share for my audience maybe an example or two of that stick-to-itiveness, how it's played out for you in your journey?
Yeah. Let me tell you what I think about stick-to-itiveness. The Bible talks about seals and how we're sealed to the day of redemption. You want to know what a seal looks like. Now, I'm 60, so I'm an old school girl, but I'm gonna give you probably some of y'all might can relate a little bit where I'm going with this. You ever seen a mason jar?
I have.
Well, my mother used to can foods. She had this big black pot, and in the summertime we had to go out and we had to go to the farm with her. And we had to get those beans, and you had to snap those beans and all that stuff. And you put them in this jar, mason jar. And when you put them in this mason jar, there was a little gold tab, like a seal thing that goes on top. And then there was a thing that twists around it. And she would put that in this boiling like hot water thing pot and steam it really good. Then when she took it out, that even though, my daddy may have hand sealed it, it was sealed so tight after the pressure and everything went about it. That seal was so tight, couldn't no air get through it. So those vegetables could last for a long time.
I see where you're going. Yes.
Where I'm going?
Yes.
It can last for a long time because it was sealed. See, things have to be sealed. And if you sealed in Christ, then there are things that might try to penetrate, but they can't break that seal. Amen. And then the only way my dad could break the seal would be when the time for my mom to say, time to go in there and get one of those. He would take that jar and he would pop the bottom like.
Yep.
And you hear that pop. Well, when you hear that pop, sometimes what happens is you've let air in. You've let the enemy come in. So you got to be sensitive to that pop to know when to know that that seal's been broken.
Right.
Because if he had popped it and then sealed it back and put it back with the others,
right,
eventually it would have gone bad.
It would have gone bad.
Because that seal had been broken.
Right. That barrier had been penetrated.
And you didn't go back and reseal it. So that's just like anything else when we're dealing with marriage, anything, relationships, business. We start stuff, but we don't want to work through the pressure.
Come on.
That thing was in a pressure cooker to get it to a seal. We don't want to work through that pressure.
Yeah.
We just want we want the pop.
Right.
But we don't want the pressure.
Right.
So you're going to have both.
Yep. My mentor says all the time, we're seeking the product, but we won't go through the process.
Correct.
And it's absolutely true. So let me ask this. So the other thing in looking at your bio, you had a disease that would have taken many people out in that, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, you were probably at your lowest. Tell us a little bit how you worked through that in your journey, from that back to wholeness.
Yes. actually, when I first was diagnosed with the disease, believe it or not, it's been over 20 years ago. My kids were still very young. Now they're 35 and 32, but back then they were very young and still getting ready to go to middle school. And all
Tell
of
my
one,
audience a little bit more about the disorder, because they may
it's
not be
called
familiar.
polymyositis. Polymyositis means inflammation of the muscles. Give you a great example. Right now, you're sitting there like, comfortable. If you all once your wife was to call, you just get up and walk away. I can't get up like that. I have to have assistance or, a chair that helps lift me up or something. I can't just get up on my own. My muscles are weak. So it's the muscles that are closest to your body, the extremity, it makes them very weak. So if I raise my hand right there, if you want me to raise my hand higher, I can't do it. I can't raise my arm that high. So those are the muscles that are affected by it. When I walk, I can walk, but I can very easily fall. If I fall, I can't get back up on my own. I need assistance. So it's called inflammation of the muscles. So when I was diagnosed 20 years ago, when I first found out I was weak, walking up some stairs, realized I was falling, went to a rheumatologist, found out I had the disease. They took muscle tissue biopsies, those things of that nature. Well, when you're going through that, especially I was going through that still with relatively young kids, that's a lot because they're looking at you like, I want my mom to live. And you're trying to be where, okay, God, I know I can depend on you. And you kind of like, right? Hey, we all go through those changes, right?
That's the
But
pressure you were talking about.
that's the pressure. I was in the pressure cooker. And I'm like, wow, and I've always been an entrepreneur. And I was right in the middle of just wanting to start an MLM business, multi-level marketing.
Right.
And I get hit with this. And to the point to where, I can't do anything for myself.
Right.
So, go to the doctor, things of that nature, and they begin to get, where you're back somewhat to where you want to be, where you say, okay, I feel better, I can get around. So for several years, I could still do pretty much norm. As I got older, things started kicking a little more. Well, things happen. Let me just tell you. I told you I was in the middle of entrepreneurship. I feel a little bit better. I'm like, okay, good. Now I can work on my multi-level marketing business.
Right.
In the middle of that, my parents started getting sick.
Okay.
I'm like, wait a minute. I'm just back on my feet some. I feel better. I started with my MLM and they're getting ill. I have to go take care of them.
Yeah.
I had don't get me wrong, I have siblings, but sometimes it's one person's tag you with.
Right. Yes.
And I was the tag you with. Okay. I was the one that would do it. So I did. But not knowing that I was still in the pressure cooker. And what I was going through, God was going to use it.
Yeah.
For such a time as this. So I'm going through that. Now I'm taking care of them. So I'm taking them back and forth to the doctor and this and that. So I began to, because I'm taking care of them, wanted to start my own business, but all the time, like, okay, I'm learning things like, okay, I need to get this, what I need from my mom, dad. Okay, in order to talk to the doctor, I need this paperwork. In order to talk to the doctor, I need that paperwork. Okay, they got this, they got that. My mom and dad looking over some things. We got these things in order, Renee. We got a wheel, ... And I'm reading over stuff. Okay. So all the time, I don't realize where God is going in this pressure cooker. So I'm taking time to take care of my parents. Then they, they sooner or later, eventually, they pass. And then here I am back. I'm like, okay, all right, is this my time now? But I was going through the pressure cooker. And now the door has opened to where all the things I've gone through, I'm taking these things and now I'm planting seeds that are germinating and growing in people, because I'm showing people that you need to remember how to leave a legacy and not a bill. Because I helped take care of my prior legacy with my parents. Thought it was a negative thing because I was the one that was doing it. Nobody else was willing to do it but me. However, in that, learn the skill set of things that open the door that I realized the average person didn't know. And that is how to leave an inheritance. As a matter of fact, great example, today, one of my houses that I have that we do a short-term Airbnb.
You know, that's music to my ear.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And we was at the Airbnb. My husband, the good thing is my husband was a landscaper, so he also does the lawn. So we went over there today to do that. But you know what I gathered? Now, I grew up in this neighborhood and where this house is. And I know what that neighborhood looked like, if I must say so. Okay. The neighborhood, looked pretty much like I do. Well, the house directly across the street to the left of the house that I'm talking about, that I have, there's someone that just sold that house. Now, they sold it for a nice price compared to what that neighborhood used to sell for. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
For me, I'm looking at it like, yes. Okay. For that person next door that's been sitting there for a while, they're not looking at it that way. Why is that? In addition to that, the people who bought that house don't look like me.
Paint the picture for our audience.
Never, never, never. When I was a little girl, everybody in that neighborhood looked like me. I had to be bused. I was one of the ones that during the time when the busing first started, I was the ones that had to be bused way across town. You know how it was. You know how it was back then. And then eventually it went back to where it's more like, okay, I could go back to the schools near my neighborhood. And I did it. As a matter of fact, I'm not doing that for political reasons. I'm doing this because I'm doing an example. About 2 months ago, Kamala Rice came to a school named Dudley High School.
Okay.
About 3 months ago. This was prior to what has shifted now in Congress, but it was prior to that. And she was coming to, at that time, for Biden. And when she did, she chose this high school. This high school is the high school I graduated from.
Okay. All right. There's an interesting connection. Okay.
Know why? This high school was the first Black high school in the county. That's the neighborhood I'm speaking of. I got 2 houses in that neighborhood.
Okay.
And people are continually trying to buy that house now. Get the picture.
I got the picture.
Get the picture.
Yep.
This neighborhood this school was the first school, Black school in the county. This is a school she came to that she chose to come to. This is the neighborhood that these 2 houses reside in.
Love it. I love
I'm not the only person that knows this.
Yep.
There are people that have went and did their research and they know this.
Right. For my audience, we've talked about this before. We talked about gentrification. We've talked about, in New York City, there was, if you go to New York City today, it looks very different from the New York City from, my era when we had, hip hop and Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five and Run DMC. And the reason for that is that folks have for our real estate investors, I don't hate the player. I'm just speaking the game. You want to buy low and sell high. And so many of us have been unaware, and this is why Renee is on the show today, unaware of the specific planning necessary to keep that property in your family. And then folks will take it from you for pennies on the dollar, put a little work on it, and they've actually, in some cases, 10x'd what they purchased the property for. And that's a huge problem in our community. And Renee, you are the solution. So this is a great segue. When we talk about estate planning, kind of sounds like prepping for a road trip. So there's some checklists, there's a map, but it's really easy to forget, where you ultimately are going. So can you share for my audience, how you educate your clients in making sure that checklist, nothing crucial or critical is forgotten or dismissed?
Yes, I will. First of all, like I said, everything I show people is things that I'm not phony. Okay, I'm real. Mm-hmm. I've done all these things I'm telling you, and I know it works. Mm-hmm. First thing is, a lot of times we have not been told to do estate planning. We have been told to, when it's time for someone dies, we react. We're not proactive. And when we react, we do things unresponsible. We're not responsible at all. We just throw things up. Everybody gets angry. Everybody gets mad because there's no order, no arrangements. Nobody knows nothing. And next thing you know, sell it. Get rid of it. Throw it out. Let me tell you what's wrong with that picture. As I told you, my parents were uneducated. They didn't even finish high school. They took me one day in a room and they said, we're going to tell you something because we want you to know this. We got a will. And we've made you the executress of the will.
Right.
And I said, oh, okay. Now, like I said, these are uneducated people. Okay. My mama always said, in life, people miss one thing. I said, what's that? She said, common sense. Most people don't have common sense. We got all this education. Don't knock it. I went to Elon University, graduated. I've been there, done that. That's not what I'm saying. My kids graduated. They egg your pride. They A&T students. HBCU. But common sense. And this is what I'm trying to say. If you got something that you want to pass on, you got to pass it on according to how the system works. That's just it. That's not another way around it. You can't go in there and say, Ma and them said, I'm just being honest. I can have that. It's not going to work.
Right.
If it's not written down, it's not documented, it's not going to happen. You have to have things in order. And one thing we miss usually, especially people, minorities, we usually miss putting things in writing.
Amen.
Because a will, any type of document is the end to all arguments. You can wipe everything out with the sealed document. You show that in court, you ain't got to worry about nothing. Period. So one thing I do is, so people say, oh, okay, no problem. I'll get my attorney to show me that. I got you. The attorney, you give him so much money. Yes, I do have people to go to the attorney when it's time to do the documents. But I prepare you prior to that. What you don't realize is, okay, first of all, who should be the one over your estate? You don't just choose the person that's the one that say, oh, well, Johnny's the oldest. Nope, don't have nothing to do with it. I'm the youngest.
Okay, so let's hang on right there, because I think a lot of, in the Black and brown community, we normally just default to who was the firstborn. Are you saying that we should really rethink that?
Very much. Imagine if my parents had not chose me. I'm going to tell you right now, straightforward, those houses wouldn't be there. I still got my parents' house as a long-term rental. It would not be there. It would not. My parents paid $9,000 for their house. I got the deed. $9,000. I'm going to tell you now, I can get a whole lot more than $9,000 for that house.
Come on.
Okay? I can get a whole lot more now. However, I'm going to let you know this. If my siblings would have had it, that house would have been sold. Done for. Gone. My parents knew, recall, I'm going to take you back a little bit. I said I was in the MLM business, ready to do something, and my parents got sick. Who came to their side?
You did.
Who made sure they were taken care of?
You did.
So who did my parents choose to be on their executive estate?
The one that would do the job. The one that they could count on.
One they can count on. It's not, you love your kids. I didn't say, my parents loved all their children, but they knew who would take it to where they told them. Even when my sister, I had a sister that passed in 2019. She called me up and she said, thank you for always taking care of me and looking after us the way I know Mama wanted you to before she died. You know what that made me feel? Really good. That I had lived it out what my parents said. I knew what they said do, and I did it. Now, was it as easy as that? No. I show people that, hey, it's another side to it now, because all of them was on the wheel, and that's something I can teach you. If everybody's on, because I had to do some settle out with them, but I can show you what that looks like. And the reason why I can show you like that looks like is another thing. Something else I show people when I'm telling you. When I'm teaching you this, the reason why I'm telling you is your attorney is going to tell you you need a will, living will, last will, power of attorney, and that's pretty much it. Because that's what he gets paid for.
Okay.
I'm going to show you, before that's even done, who you need to consider choosing. I'm going to show you once you choose somebody. We're going to talk about once somebody dies. People don't realize that when a person dies, you got all this mess. Well, what did Mama want? What did Daddy want? What did they want? You need to have all this stuff written out. Do you realize this? Houses are going up, right, in value. People may have grandma's house still insured, which they should, homeowners insurance. But what happens if grandma's homeowners insurance is for a lot lower than what her house is worth?
And that's a real situation. Right. Absolutely.
Does that happen?
All the time. So
see,
now it's
I teach you everything.
Okay.
In addition to that, I'm going to show you not only that, I am grouped with an investor, a guy that's a broker. I know what the whole estate planning looks like. You need to also know how to put your money up the right way. You know how to need to invest your money properly.
Right.
The reason I was able to settle with my siblings is because I had worked with this guy years before this happened.
You were liquid. Got it.
So he also is a part of what I do.
Awesome.
I add that to it as well. So I add a beginning to the end. Go ahead.
Yeah, before I ask the next question, I just want to remind our audience. So we're having an intimate conversation with Renee Summers, and she has an amazing program that she's given us some breadcrumbs for, and it's all about unlocking generational wealth. It's about estate planning. It's about leaving an inheritance instead of a bill. So I want to throw this not so pleasant word out and get your response. The word is probate. Talk to my audience about probate.
Let me tell you something about probate. Probate can be ugly, okay? Because most people are not aware. And there's 2 different types of probates you don't realize. Let me give you an example. My mom and dad had a will. So when I went down to court to do that, I went in, I had the will, I went to present them. And another thing you people not even realize, it depends on your states. With North Carolina, you don't file the will until the person has died. So you got to keep the will in a place that is the right place.
And you suggest a fireproof lockbox?
Yes.
Okay.
Because most people just, oh, it's over there in the corner. Well, where in the corner? And what happens, God forbid, if it does? That's right. There are over 15 documents that you need in that fireproof file cabinet that I tell people that they don't realize that are major. But anyhow, because of that, I went down to the courthouse and I thought, okay, I handed the papers. Well, they told me to go to the right. Well, I went to the right away, and sure enough, I showed them the will and everything. And so the lady immediately saw that on there, it was 4 siblings listed. I was the one, the Secretary of State, and she pointed out everything. And she said, what are you going to do? ... Can you list what they own? Okay, there comes the house. So we list the house and, you know, the other things. So there are actually several things to list. And she did it. We did it. And everything, you know, went fine. But it was still a process. This is a year out. It takes a year for even when you got it in order. So you begin with that. However, you're thinking, oh, that's great, she had a will. No, it's a lot of paperwork. And I didn't know this. Just to let you know something. One of the ladies that took my class last month told me, I did not know this. She's in the same county I'm in. She's right here where I'm living. She's in Gifford County, next door to mine. I'm in the different one now, but she's in Gifford County. She told me she did everything I told her. She did everything. When she went downtown, because she's over the estate of her mother who died, when she went downtown to file her paperwork for probate, the person who did her paperwork was new, had just got hired. They didn't do everything completely. Now she did. However, they didn't. She gets a phone call. This blew my mind. And told her, we want to let you know the sheriff is on the way to your house because accidentally we thought these paperwork had not been completed on the due date that you were supposed to have it in. It was an oversight because of the new person that was took your paperwork, and the sheriff is on the way to your house to file some papers.
That little
probate.
Mistake,
that's probate.
Would have had a big repercussion.
But they called it.
Yeah.
She had everything in order. So she had the date, then things set. But imagine if she didn't know what she was supposed to do.
Renee, how many documents? Because you said a will is not enough. How many documents do you teach your students they need to have prepared and ready to go?
There are several documents. One document, I'll give out a few. One is if a person was in the military. If you have a mom or dad that was in the military, you need to have those papers.
DD 214.
There you go.
Okay.
You know it.
Yep.
Because why? The honorarium, my father-in-law, when he died, they came to the funeral, did the honorarium for him with the salute and everything. You need to have all that in order. Another thing is when my dad died first. My dad had the largest check. My mom and dad both was on Social Security. Guess what happens when 2 people are on Social Security and one dies and they're married?
What happens?
Okay, my dad died. My mom and dad both had a Social Security check, right?
Right.
She got what you thought. You probably think 2 should be coming to our household the whole time, right?
Correct.
Boom. Wrong.
So
You
it
get one
goes,
check.
so two people live in 2 checks, one person live in 1 check.
Bingo. And it's the one with the largest check.
Oh, okay.
So that's a good thing. But you just cut that person's income, didn't you?
You really did. Yeah, you really, really did.
See why I have my broker involved?
Yeah.
To show people
Yeah.
how to save. They need to save, invest some money.
Wow.
But I guess how I learned this? Taking care of my mom.
Good.
I had to take her down there. One of the things she had to show was their marriage certificate. Think about it. I said they've been married 51 years. Most people ain't gonna have that, right?
They're really not.
I teach people they need to have it. You got to show their marriage certificate, and I had both their birth certificate. Now remember, they were born back in the 20s and 30s.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I had all that paperwork on. See, there's a lot of things that you don't think about until they ask you for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And why you think people lose their stuff?
Poor preparation.
Poor preparation.
I mean, you're saying that these kind of things need to be in a fireproof lockbox. Raise your hand if you got one. I couldn't raise my hand. I'm not prepared. Man, this is good stuff. Again,
think about copies of your homeowners insurance.
Yeah. That's not. I could download it, but I don't have the paperwork accessible.
Life insurance policy.
Yeah. That's so good. That's so good. So Renee, I know I'm personally, I've told you offline, I'm personally interested in becoming one of your students. For my audience, talk to them a little bit, how they would go about, initiating a consultation with you.
Yes. If you want to, I have actually I have a domain. It's a website. It's called proficiencycoach.com.
Okay.
So you just put in proficiencycoach as one word.com. So proficiencycoach.com, you can go on there. It'll say for more information, you send it to me and I'll get a email reply that you want additional information. I'm actually going to host a class in October. I'm going to do it from October the 14th to the 17th. It's a Monday through Friday. It is on the web, what I'm saying, viral. So all you got to do virtual is a virtual class. So all you do is an hour each night. And let me tell you why I do an hour each night. It's so much information you need to learn. I like people to go back, look, digest it, write out any questions they might have, come back the next day, hear more, need another question, write out, because you need a little bit of time. You don't realize how much information I'm going to put in your head. And so if you did a workshop, don't get me wrong. If somebody wants to do a big workshop, I'll go host a big workshop in person. We'll do a 4-hour workshop. That's fine, because then you got me kind of one-on-one in person. But when it's virtual, I do 1 hour and I do it that way. So that
I like it that way, Renee, because a lot of times, there's so much information. You really do get learning loss because, me being an educator, I already know.
Gotcha.
You can't pour anything into a full cup. And sometimes you pour enough, then you got to kind of let it settle. And you can pour some more, let it settle. So that makes a ton of sense.
And I do, for people that sign up for my class, I do send you prior to worksheets. And all it is things for you to start thinking about. And just things you to write down. It's not nothing that's going to come to me. I see is for you to start getting ideas on. I haven't thought about that. Yes, that. And things you might start thinking, well, I'm going to answer a question about that when we take a class. But it's things that you can start already begin to look at and see, do you have these things in order? So it's like a little prior workshop for you to review.
And Renee, I think it's so important because a lot of times when I'm talking to my audience I said, there's a difference between building something and grinding. For some reason, in our American culture, we popularize this idea of, work hard, work. And and the truth of the matter is, I think people of color, we are really good at working hard. But let me just share something with you. It's about working smart. And so it's not about grinding, it's about building. And if you're going to build something, you got to put the right steps in place so that when you're gone, the work that you have created should outlive you and your kids and grandkids. What's that quote from the Bible that you were sharing with me?
Proverbs 13:22.
Yep, yep, yep.
A
So
good parent leaves his heritage to his children's children.
yep, love it.
And see,
I
your
love it.
children's children are my grandchildren. See,
That's
my
right.
folks are my grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
My kids, my son is one of the business partners in with me with my Airbnb.
I love it. I love it. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna stick that link so people who are like me, who are already on the journey, can get that great information. That'll be in our program link. Now I'm gonna shift gears. Let's talk a little bit about this mindset that an entrepreneur has to have. What would you say for you personally was your most important mindset shift as you know there's a book that I recommend people from good to great. And for you, what mindset shift did you have to go through in order to just be playing with a thing, to have mastery of a thing?
You know what? I think the mind shift is learn to take responsibility.
Come on.
And the reason why I say that is this. I give a great example today. I'm out with my husband. I know I got this tonight. I got somebody else I got to meet with in another hour. You get what I'm saying? On something else with a business thing. I got a lot of stuff going on, but I have to make sure I plan it. I make sure I put it in order. I'll give you a great example. I have been, even in the middle of my father-in-law when he was dying, I still had a business. So there were times I had to, step aside. Look, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I've got this in order. People understand, but you can't just drop it. Some people have this mindset that it's kind of like this. You ever seen a child with a new bike? And they'll ride that thing after Christmas Day, and they're riding and riding and riding. Next thing you know, next door neighbor gets another bike, and it's better than their bike. Then they'll take their bike and they'll throw it down. Right? Because their bike don't look as good. Or the wheels, Ned's like, oh, I got to clean the wheels now because I've been riding in the mud or in the dirt. So now I got to clean it. So now I got to put some more, grind into it. Time, responsibility.
Right.
I don't want that type of responsibility.
Yeah.
I want to just ride it while it looks good.
Right.
We like to ride stuff while it looks good.
Right. What do they call that? Shiny syndromes, shiny object syndrome.
Right. We don't want to take responsibility.
Yep.
You got to take responsibility. If I had never taken responsibility for my parents, I would have never learned what I did by estate planning. I would never have my house, my mother's house, and my sister's house. The reason I have my sister's house is she didn't have a will. That's another thing that probate doesn't look the same. Remember, I told you I also went on the other side when I went to the courthouse. They told me to turn left. That's because she didn't have a will. I became the administrator of her estate. That's another thing. Wow. So a lot of people won't want to take the responsibility of what it looks like. They just want the shiny syndrome. As long as it looks good, as long as it looks new, but you got to take responsibility, and you got to say, if you're business minded, you got to think like a business minded.
I love it. I love it. Follow question to that is, in your opinion, what's the role of failure in a person's entrepreneur journey?
Failure means you quit. That's it. Failure doesn't mean you bump in the road. Failure doesn't mean you didn't do that right. Fair doesn't mean that I didn't quite make it where I wanted it to, but it turned out okay. That's not failure. That's a bump in the road. Fair means I quit.
I love it. I love it. There is a difference between I learned something that didn't work, and now that I know better, I'll do better, versus
I quit.
I'm done.
I quit. I forgot about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to do it no more. It doesn't work. It was okay.
Yeah.
You know why 409 is 409, right?
Why?
You know why 409 is named 409?
No, sir. No, ma'am.
Because the man that invented it had tried to invent something, and it was his 409th time when he finally came up with it.
Is that right?
Check his stat. Check your history.
We go fact check that one. That's good.
Wow. That's why it's called 409.
Oh my, that's good.
409 times before he ever got it. Same thing with Colonel Sanders. The reason why it's a little old man with showing it, you thought that was just the trademark? No, because that's how old he was by the time he came up with that recipe.
I love it. I love it. So, follow-up question to that for you: what's the difference between I want to use the right words. I don't want to discourage anybody. What's the difference between someone who is aspiring on their entrepreneur journey versus someone who is refined their craft?
Inspiring is like a spark. That's when you first get that flicker. Ooh, this is. I remember the first time I was impressed was actually the guy that our first person I was with in a multi-level marketing business was the guy I'm broker. We were in business together. He came to the kitchen table with me, sat down, started showing me stuff on how to invest money. I ain't never seen nothing like that in my life. I didn't know. I was like, whoa! I didn't learn this in college.
Okay.
It was a spark. Okay, that's inspiring. But then there's another thing when you're in it. You're grinding, you're working, you're developing, you're getting your skill set right, you're improving. You see what I'm saying? That's the difference.
Love it. I love it. I love it. 3 questions. If you could time travel and go back, what would the current Renee tell the old Renee? 3 things that could have made the difference to just prepare you and maybe give you a little bit more insight as you leave these lessons for your children and grandchildren.
My children and grandchildren, yes. You know, this is a sidebar. I often tell people, I said, you know what? If I had known that people was going to draw on their bodies like they do now with tattoos. I grew up in the 80s, okay?
Right.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yes,
all right?
I do. Yes.
You know, I would have had I'm gonna tell you now, I would have owned a tattoo parlor.
Yeah,
I owned about 10 of them.
Okay.
But this is sidebar. And the reason why I say that is, I'll give you a great example, what you just said. Took me back to my sister who died. When we were kids, there was this TV show that came out. And the TV show, she loved, I loved, we used to sit down and watch it. It was called The Jetsons.
The Jetsons, right.
The Jetsons was out of this world to us. Because it was funny. You know, a little boy would sit and watch a computer, this thing, and this man would come there and talk on it. Their cars would fly. You know, a robot would come and clean up their house. You remember the robot lady? And you know, dad, you know, they get ready to go to the doctor would be on the computer and ask them what was wrong and diagnose them. And my sister said, you know what, Renee? She's dead there. She said, one day we're going to be like the Jetsons. And people laughed at her. Now,
Look at us.
look at us.
Look at us.
So if I was to go back, I'm telling you, I would be one. I'm going to tell you that. I would be a sold out entrepreneur.
Okay.
I would look at things that are, first of all, always remember, one thing that sells is if there's a need for it. When you're looking for something, is there a need for this?
Makes sense. Right.
Okay. When you're thinking about that, I would look for what was a need for.
But find a need where you can create value.
You can create value, or you can solve a problem.
Right.
A need, something people need, or they can solve a problem. If you can solve a problem, you can make some money.
Right.
And I would have learned how to solve some problems and made me a whole lot of money.
So good. So good. For my people, my audience, my tribe, listen well. If you get good at solving problems, you will never have a money problem. All right, because money is not tangible. Money is just an idea. How many ideals can you come up with that you are solving problems? So good, so good. All right, so Renee, help us here. So, I always ask my guests, what are you working on? What big idea are you working on that we could revisit, in say 7, 8, 9 months for a level of accountability? And I'll start with myself. One of the things that I'm starting to do, I got my initial group, is I'm working with veterans, helping them take advantage of their VA benefits to get into real estate investing.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing about most vets is we're not really people, a people person. Mm-hmm. We like to kind of stay in our lane, and for that reason, a lot of us don't really take advantage of it from an investing standpoint. So the group of vets that I'm working with, I'm teaching them how to do the short-term and the mid-term rentals. So you don't have to be involved with that mess. And being a landlord, you understand what I mean by that mess. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's the what I got in my spirit, that I'm trying to help these 4 guys be successful. I'm taking them from ground zero, where they don't have a single, they still rent. They don't even own. Mm-hmm. And my goal is that, I'm not sure if you know this, but that VA benefit, if you can finesse it the right way, you can rinse and repeat it every year.
Wow. Wow.
So that's the cohort that I'm working with. We got a 5-year plan that give them that passive income.
And people don't understand, if it's ever been a time when you need to learn how to make some money, it's now. Yeah. Because one income is not going to make it. It's not a luxury. It's a necessity. You need more than one stream of income, period. It's not going to work. I mean, our future generation, it's not going to work. So you need to be, and the best way to make, you don't want nobody to put a cap on your money. Because if I go work for somebody, there's a cap, because they're only going to pay me a certain amount of money.
Absolutely.
Because they're after making themselves wealthy.
Absolutely.
That's why they own the business.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go and start using something with your own skill set, or something that's open up, then you've got an unlimited, you don't have a roof over ceiling over your head. You can make as much money. If you want to make $5,000 extra that month, then you make your 5 and you be happy. Amen. But if you want to do 50, you can make your 50. You don't have a cap. Amen. It's up to you.
Amen.
That's the great thing about entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. And that's why 2 things I got right there going on. Mine is health and wealth. Because I'm showing people, I'm in my bargaining for health. I'm big on that. I got products that I know is going to make me some money. Period.
Tell my audience a little bit about some of the things that you're offering in addition to the estate planning? Because you're an entrepreneur. You don't have one stream.
No, no. Also, I am with a business called Partner Co. And what we do is our flagship product is called Tahitian Noni. Tahitian Noni was around years ago and in the United States, and it went away. But it didn't go away. It was in other countries like China, just a hint, okay? And over a lot of different countries overseas. But we're bringing it back now to the United States. That's big. So we're doing that. However, we still have over 50 other health and wellness products that we offer. Two things we got to work on right now. We know that little bug thing, that COVID bug, was no joke, and it ain't gone nowhere. And you keep hearing, oh, variants. Okay. And then it's something else. And I heard polio, they talking about it. That's just stuff that when we was kids, you didn't even hear about anymore. But there things are going on. People got to look at their health, and you want some money, you got to plant your wealth. I have that as a business. I tell people you need both, because I'm not going to do no good if I'm not healthy and I got 12 houses. And I want to go somewhere and travel. I need both. Okay. And I know what that looks like. So I'm telling you, you want both.
Yes.
You want your health and you want your wealth. You need that combination.
Well, I've heard it said this too. Your health is your wealth.
It is your wealth. There you go.
Amen.
Because if I feel good, I can sit and talk to you and help people plan their estate.
Yes.
But if I'm not feeling good, I'm not going to be able to talk to you and help people plan their estates.
You got it. You got it. You got it.
Renee,
thank you so much for spending some time with us. Normally I would have just kept you for 45 minutes, but we at the hour because I probably could have kept going for another 15 minutes. But, so my last question was, can I get a commitment to bring you back in 8-9 months?
Yes, you can.
Amen. All right. We want to check in on you. All right. Thank you so much. And my friends, as I always say, be blessed, but more importantly, be a blessing. Hey, guys, God bless.
God bless.